Welcome home, neighbors.
Welcome home, neighbors.
Hello, neighbors.
We're listening from
Arizona,
Florida,
Maryland,
New York,
New Jersey,
Minneapolis,
California,
Utah,
Michigan,
Iowa,
Massachusetts,
Georgia,
Canada,
Our home resort is
Animal Kingdom,
Polynesian,
Bay Lake Tower,
Old Key West,
Riviera,
Boardwalk,
Alani Resort,
Hilton Head,
Boulder Ridge, Copper Creek,
Grand Floridian,
Saratoga Springs,
Beach Club,
and Wilderness Lodge.
and you're listening to
and you're listening
You're listening to my
DVC
Points.
Hi, neighbors. Welcome to my DVC Points Community Hall Live. We're so glad to welcome you here tonight to talk a little bit about spending your points or splurging or saving, or how do you use your points? Some of us are splurgers and some of us are penny pinching savers and might even be called just plain cheap. So we're going to talk about that tonight. But one great way of saving yourself some money, some serious money on your DVC stays, is by using one of our sponsors. We'd like to thank the DVC Rental Store tonight for sponsoring shows on our platform. And one great way of saving some money is by using them to rent points for your DVC stay. Or, hey, are you not using your points? They really want to talk to you about giving you some cash so they can rent your points out to somebody who wants to try maybe DVC for the first time. So give my friends at DVC Rental Store a call and they will help you out. And tonight, I am so excited to bring some of my favorite stretch and splurgers here tonight to talk about this very important topic. Let's see who's up first. Pete.
Hey, Marianne.
Pete is one of my friends who I'd say is a pretty good stretcher of his pennies and points.
I'm probably more of a stretcher than a splurger, but I do splurge at times. So
Yep.
yeah.
It'll be fun to get to know where you think it's important to splurge and where you think it's important to stretch. And that leaves my friend Andrew. Andrew is one of the best splurgers I know, but he also knows where to stretch his points too. He's smart in both ways too. But I will say that I would like to be adopted by Andrew sometimes because when he chooses to splurge, he splurges well. So he takes good care of his girls and his family.
Yes, I do.
So, and everybody knows that I am the cheapest, most stretcher on the planet. So our first topic tonight is stretch and splurge about dining. And hey, you people in the community, we want to hear from you too. Pop into those comments so we can talk about and get better ideas of how to stretch or splurge for dining. Pete, why don't you start us off about stretching and splurging?
So, I am definitely a stretcher when it comes to Disney and vacationing in general. I don't like to say that I'm cheap, but I really look to get the most out of my dollar. And it's really how I got into DVC to begin with. And actually, one of the things we did when we bought DVC is we said, all right, well, we're spending this money because we were always a moderate family.
Okay.
And we said, okay, we're going to spend all this extra money. We're now gonna like not eat out quite as much in terms of the table service restaurants. So we used to be, eat at a table service restaurant every single day. And we've since started going more with like just 3 or 4, if we go for a week, maybe 3 or 4 times during a trip. So I think that's kind of where we stretch our dollar a little bit, as we don't do a meal every night. We do still, on the splurge side, my wife and I do like good food. So we will usually once a trip go to the California Grill or the Yachtsman's a favorite, Flying Fish, Jico. I love Jico. So, instead of eating out every day, we will just eat out selective days and really just enjoy those meals. I guess the one place that we don't stretch is we don't eat in our rooms for the most part. We do eat breakfast. We usually eat breakfast. We usually have a studio, but even when we've gone up to a one bedroom, we generally don't have anything more than breakfast in the room. I am on vacation. I do not want to cook dinner. That is not part of being on vacation. So that's where I'm at.
Yeah.
What about you, Andrew?
Well, we're kind of sort of in the same boat, but my wife is the kind that doesn't like to cook when she's on vacation. And I certainly don't push her for that because I'm like Marianne. She likes to have her good mommy drinks. But we have also done the dining where we've gone to signature restaurants, and yes, the Yachtsman is a good one. Flying Fish has always been one of our favorites. We're glad it's finally coming back. We've done Gico as well, and if you go to Gico, try to sit at the chef's counter. That way you can see all the workings while they're cooking and preparing. The food is spectacular sitting there, and it just makes for a great atmosphere. But
So that means you get dinner and a show, which is that a
Yes.
stretch of how you stretch your
it's
splurge?
not an extra cost though.
But you
but-
stretch your splurge because you're getting more for
Uh-huh.
your
More for your dollar,
experience.
Yes,
that's true.
stretching the splurging. Thank you. Stretching the splurging. But we always love to go to a table service restaurant in the evenings, except the days when we go to a water park or something like that. We'll usually go by a store and get a casserole and cook something like that right in the room because everybody's so tired from being in the water all day. It's really, really good.
Yeah, well, and that's kind of where my family's at. We always breakfast in the room. That's why I bought DVC, right? Is
Mhm.
because DVC was going to not only save me money on my accommodations for the foreseeable future till my contract is up, but it also saves me money by having that kitchen. And so I do breakfast in the room every day. I order groceries. I have snacks in the room. So I'm the girl who's ordering the big bags of popcorn or microwave popcorn, and I order ahead. I order soda ahead, and
Yep.
I kind of refuse to buy soda in the park, and I certainly don't let them buy it at the resort, where before we were DVC members, the refillable mug was part of our plan every time because we needed this, because we didn't have a lot of room to store pop and that kind of thing. Well, now I have a big old fridge, so I just stock it like I do for a week at home, and
Mhm.
it makes us all a lot happier when we come back exhausted to be able to go to the fridge and pull out snacks. And I will keep a couple of frozen pizzas and hot
Yep.
dogs and things like that for quick meals there in the room. But do I splurge for meals? We do have a couple of table service favorites. Beaches and Cream is a favorite for our
Yes.
family, and we really like 50s Primetime
Mhm.
also. But if you look carefully at the restaurants I pick, I don't usually pick the signature restaurants because if you look at the prices at 50s Primetime or at Beaches and Cream, you're going to go, oh, those are just a step above the prices for most most quick service dining. And we feel like the quality is better and we get to sit down for a little while, but we certainly don't do a table service meal every day. We usually do one or two a trip. So,
And if you're like we used to be, where we would go rope drop to kid drop, you go
mhm.
back to the hotel room if you're not going back for a restaurant, sit down restaurant in the evenings. You got food right there in the hotel. When the kid wakes up after a nap, you can have dinner right there and go out and watch the movie on the beach, things like that. That's a really good way to stretch it right there.
Yeah. Yeah. Those kitchens are, I mean, I cook like I do at home? No. No, I don't like cooking on vacation either. And what I certainly don't like doing is the cooking dishes. I don't mind putting plates in the dishwasher, but I don't want to have to do pots and pans and stuff like that. That takes
That's
a
too
lot of
much.
time. So I don't do that. But I do use those kitchens a lot more than I ever thought I would. And I really appreciate having them. And, I look forward to in the future, though, when we are the grandparents and our kids are coming with their kids, I look forward to being the grandma that kind of goes back a little early and
There
you
go.
know, does cook dinner for everybody so that we can save a little money, because in the
Well,
long
maybe
run,
adopt us and we'll come join you.
yeah, you know, that maybe that's what we'll do. Yeah. There we go.
So
So
Marianne, you mentioned beaches and cream, and that to me is, even though it's table service, that is a stretch. In that you said it yourself, you're not paying a lot of money. There's a couple
No.
other places I think like that too. The Plaza is a good place
Yes.
that you can get a
Yes.
low
It's always
cost
on, that's
meal.
on my list in Magic Kingdom. Yep.
We like going to Via Napoli, which is a
Okay.
pizza place, and the pizzas are kind of ridiculously expensive. They're like $30, but they're big. So if you're
Mhm.
feeding, you can feed. We went there with some friends once, and we had like 8 people, and I think we spent like $100. And we had like 3 large pizzas, but
Right.
like it was more than enough food for everybody, and it really didn't cost that much. So
Right.
there are choices you can make for table service that are not
Yes.
as expensive as going to Crystal Palace or one of the buffets and spending $60, whatever it is, 50 some dollars a person. So
You know, when our kids were little, it made sense because you got the dinner and the show vibe. You know, the kids got to see the
Mhm.
characters,
Right.
and you didn't have to wait in line, and that made
Right.
sense.
Yep.
But now that my kids are big, that doesn't make sense anymore. But if
Right.
I had littles, not necessarily a buffet, because those don't, but the ones that bring you like family style to the table,
Mhm.
we really, really like. Oh, and it's just blanked on me. Is a Garden Grill at Epcot.
Yep.
Yes.
And it's a little bit more reasonably priced at breakfast. That's the other way I do stretch,
Mhm.
is that occasionally, if we really want to do a place like that, we will do a character meal at breakfast, because that stretches my dollar more. I get the same dinner and a show vibe in the morning. So let's see what our community has to say about this. They're smart people. They're usually smarter than me. Hey, oh, Carol, you're there. You're there. We see you. Good job, Carol. Gina says she splurges on dining 1 or 2 meals a trip also. Yep. Thanks. I like to stretch too. Judy says she splurges once or twice a trip. I think, yeah, see, DVC members are smart, aren't they? They enjoy good things. Ron says he feels like they fit into both categories when it comes to dining. They'll order groceries to be able to have more meals in the villa, while at the same time, they'll enjoy a number of signature dining meals as well. Yeah, absolutely.
That's the whole stretch and splurge.
Yes, that's the stretching your splurge. Janice we do a couple of nice restaurants, but we also do make things back at the room if we have a 1-bedroom. If we have a studio, we eat out more. We always eat breakfast in the room. Yep. Jared, cereal and coffee in the morning, frozen pizza lunches, storybook dining, flying fish, and beer garden in the evening. That sounds smart. That
Yeah.
sounds smart. And Geyser Point is a must.
Mm.
I think a lot of people agree with you about Geyser Point. Patricia, we do breakfast in the room, and they are quickies. Usually it's easy because we have someone who is getting ready. Someone else can eat. Yep. Jen likes to splurge. She likes a nice table service dinner, and she gets lots of treats like Dole Whips and Night Blossom drinks and the popcorn cart and food and garden booths, etc. That's that's awesome. See, I'm the opposite. I am the mom who buys the popcorn bucket and tells her kids they can have popcorn all day, or they can have goldfish out of my backpack, but I'm not buying all those extra treats all day long. So I'm mean.
I guess when we say splurge on food, we do go to Food and Wine every year, and we drop a pretty penny in Epcot over those 4 or 5 days.
No, you don't spend any money, Pete, because you're unfavorable. You don't spend any money.
We use our
right.
Chase Disney credit card points to buy food at the food booth.
Oh,
There
nice.
you go. Hey, that's stretching your splurge.
Mhm.
Carol says before she bought more points, they always were in a studios. And they got an owner's locker and stocked it with a slow cooker, pots and pans, a glass dish, and hot plates. And
That
she would
works.
cook a healthy meal and pack lunches. We still cook, but they're in the 1-bedroom now. That's smart. That's smart. And they do have a rare dinner out. Jenny says she also stocks the fridge with water, soda, and snacks. And and alcohol. I didn't want to say that, Jenny, but yes, and alcohol. We also splurge typically to try somewhere we haven't been or revisit a top favorite. But yes, there's nothing wrong with having to make you a better mommy drink stocked in your fridge so that when the children go to sleep, you can have a nice drink with your partner and enjoy the quiet of sleeping children who are Disney exhausted. So Jared says Whispering Canyon boat rides, all you can enjoy. It's a great value. Oh, there you go.
Mhm.
Pedro says he splurges 1 to 2 meals, and Olivia's is a must.
Oh, yes. Olivia's is very good.
We like Olivia's too. Andy says doing a breakfast splurge at Topolino's tomorrow. Oh, yum.
Wow.
We also get groceries too, though. Love getting my cold brew to have in the villa before we leave in the morning. Oh, and that's talk about saving you some money,
Mhm.
having
See,
your fancy coffee you made yourself.
I know what he meant, but when I think of cold brew, I think of a 12-ounce beverage, and I'm not usually getting that on my way to the park, though, either.
It might make you a better daddy, Pete.
Yeah,
You
maybe.
just never know. Coney says off-property buffets, no one gets left out. My money in the parks is for fries for me and a dino burger buckets for the kids. Yep. A huge ice cream waffle cone and drive through next to off-property hotel and sandwiches and crackers. That's smart. That there are times when we've been very glad to give a rental car because we can get off property, and there are a lot of great places actually fairly near the parks that you can eat. So
Yeah, Disney's wisdom, getting rid of Magical Express, we now typically rent a car, and we now typically get more food off property. So that was very smart of Disney. I don't know how many meals they lost that way.
There's a very good dinner splurge at the Columbia restaurant in Celebration. It's a very, very good restaurant, and it is a bit of a splurge, and you do have to drive to it.
I might have to find some info from you about that later, Andrew.
Glad to share it.
Jenny says with 2 21 plus kids along, being able to make adult drinks in the room is a huge stretch. Yes, it is. Yes, it is. I am soon going to have 2 21-year-old children too, so I get that. Jackie says she splurges on in-room dining at Grand Flow.
Wow.
She loves the buttermilk fried chicken from the cafe and delivered to her room. That's a really nice splurge. That'd be like although I don't know, people talk about getting Ohana for their room.
I was just thinking but that's actually a stretch.
But I think that's a stretch.
Because you pay less than you would pay going to Ohana.
And so that's awesome. Well, thanks, people. Let's talk about accommodations. I think that's the whole reason we all bought into DVC, isn't it?
Yes.
The whole reason we bought was ultimately to stretch our pennies for points so that we could stay deluxe for the rest of our lives and not ever stay at an all-star again during the cheerleader competition, right, people? So, Pete, tell us how you stretch and splurge your points.
Wow, yeah. For me, it's a lot of stretching, not completely, but a lot of stretching. We mostly stay in studios now. Admittedly, it's my wife and I and one daughter, so a studio is usually enough. I'm not real big on the one bedrooms. I just talked about how I like to eat out, so to me, the splurge of getting a one bedroom with 3 people just to have a little more space in the kitchen is not necessary. But even more than that, we own at Animal Kingdom Lodge and we own at Boardwalk, and those are 2 resorts in which you can be extra cheap because at Boardwalk you can get a standard view room, which is less points. And pretty much every year, we only have 75 points at Boardwalk. That is for our food and wine trip every year. And every year I manage to find a way to get standard view points. And you used to be able to get a full week out of 75 points. And they changed the point charts now, and you can't. But I still stretch it as far as I can. Animal Kingdom, we don't do it all the time because we do like to visit different resorts. But I think we've probably stayed value. I want to say at least 5 times. We've stayed in value studios. And
Got to be
then
an owner to get them.
well, exactly. And you know, I'm always very high on when I talk to people about Disney is or about DVC is also consider the value, not just the value of your points and how much the points cost, but what you can do with them at your home resort. So, you know, I'm a big pusher for like Bay Lake Tower is a good choice because you can get like if you're not an owner there, you can't stay in those standard rooms. And I'm not a big view person. Even at Animal Kingdom Lodge, you know, if I can walk down the hall and look at the animals.
Yeah.
So I'm perfectly fine with you know, having a view of the pool or whatever it is. And so we tend to whenever we can, we use the value points, we use the standard viewpoints. Again, we do stay at other resorts as well, so it's not always stretching, but we do it quite a bit. The exception is going to be in January. We're going down, and my mom, who's 82 years old, is flying out for the wedding as well. But it's just going to be my wife, my daughter, myself, and my mother, and we are staying in a 2-bedroom at Animal Kingdom Lodge, and it's not even a value room, but it is a standard room.
Are you staying at the lodge or at Kidani Village?
Kidani we're actually staying at because we wanted the Jumbo doesn't have 2 beds in the spare bedroom because they're all lockoffs. So we decided to stay at Kidani. We were actually
the Kidani dedicated 2-bedroom has the extra bath
has the extra bathroom. It's got 2 beds in the spare bedroom. So yeah, that's
stretching it even further. That's great.
It's stretching it a little bit, but it is going for a 2-bedroom. You know, I could have considered like getting 2 studios or something, but I thought we're coming down for a wedding. It's a special occasion. So that's my one true splurge. We've stayed in 1-bedrooms on occasion. We did when we went out to Grand Cal, stay in a 1-bedroom for like 3 nights. So I guess that was a little bit of a splurge, but we are definitely, when it comes to our points stretchers, I always figure you can never have enough points. So that's me.
Absolutely. Andrew, share with us your strategies.
We pared down a lot of our contracts last year, mainly because it gave us a little extra money for my daughter to go off to college. But from the very beginning of us being DVC members, we always went into the 2-bedrooms and started with Old Key West. My father-in-law and his friend came and joined us one time. On the very first year we were there. So ever since then, it's been mostly 1-bedrooms or 2-bedrooms, and it's either been, it doesn't matter which resort, it just depends on how much we're going to spend at which park we stay in a hotel closest to that each time. But as we've gotten older and my daughter's grown up and such, we've still stuck to the 2-bedrooms each time. One year we did a Old Key West Grand Villa. We splurged on that. It was like 1,400 points for 8 nights, 9 days. It was great.
Wow.
And we stayed in the Copper Creek cabins. That's a little bit of a splurge because it takes a little extra points, but it is really, really worth it. If you've never had an opportunity to stay there, that's a good splurge. But the biggest splurge of all for the accommodations is buying DVC. Then you can splurge on which rooms, which types you want. You don't have to stay in what I call a flop house, which is just a studio as far as we're concerned. But you can move up, you can move down. It just depends on what you want to do. So stretching it, you can stay in the smaller rooms. If you've got more people, check the point cost, whether you get 2 studios or get 2 bedrooms. And we've always gotten the dedicated 2 bedrooms at most of the hotels because most of them have the 2 queen beds in the 2nd bedroom, which gives you more room for more people. So stretching it, splurging on it, it doesn't really matter which, it just what you feel like at each time you go and you stay and really enjoy your DVC ownership.
Yeah. Exactly. Well, I am definitely a stretcher in this department. I look at point charts for some of those other resorts and go, and I have a heart attack thinking, okay, I can go and stay for 5 days with my annual points here, or I can go stay for 9, 10 days at Saratoga or at Animal Kingdom Lodge or at Old Key West. So that's why you find me most of the time at Boardwalk, Old Key West, or Saratoga Springs, because they have lower point charts. And that was a big part of what I looked at when I bought in too. I did actually look at how many points it would cost me, and when I was picking my resorts, that's kind of how I landed on Saratoga. It was kind of, and we kind of got swung by the Disney Springs being right there. I am the mom of 3 kids, and it is much better if they all sleep in their own bed so they can't touch each other. And so I am, when our entire family of 5 goes, we go in a 2-bedroom. Even when I've taken my sister and her husband also on those trips, I get them a separate studio and have a
that's the way to
2-bedroom
do it.
for us, because again, everybody needs their own beds and not to be able to touch each other. So I guess that's where my do splurge is, that I get bigger accommodations. Even though my family of 5, I could stuff us into a Boardwalk studio.
Yeah.
But again, that was why I chose DVC, was because we could all have our own beds and we could have the space. And I love when I can come back from the parks and take all the dirty clothes and do a load of laundry, and I can pack less to go. And, we fly Southwest. Of course, I can pack 2 bags for everybody. But who wants, now that there's no Magical Express hauling my bags, who wants to haul all those bags?
Not me.
I don't. So we pack a little lighter and I do a little laundry. And so for me, I do almost always pick a 2-bedroom accommodation. Sometimes when it's just Katie and I'll pick a 1-bedroom or a studio and we'll figure it out. But let's see what our community says about this one. Gina says she's got 3 words: Old Key West. And now that I'm looking back at it, I wish I would have looked at Old Key West a little bit more carefully, because I think your best bang for your buck is an Old Key West 2-bedroom. Easily the
They're
best bang.
huge.
They're bigger than my first apartment, and I believe definitely the first house. And I think it would rival my second house that we bought square footage wise, which, I mean, people for a vacation, I mean, that's amazing. So Tina says, we have stayed in an Animal Kingdom studio and 1-bedroom values. Best stretcher ever. Of our 5 stays, we have had 3 pool and 2 Savannah views. Yeah, that Animal Kingdom, if you own an Animal Kingdom, there is no better value than those value rooms. But boy,
like
you have to
3
be an owner.
hotels in one.
Yeah, you have to be an owner to be able to pull that off. So,
and as she said, the 40% of the rooms are Savannah View, so you pay. I've actually never gotten a Savannah View in my 5 times or so, but 40% of the rooms are Savannah View, so you still have a shot at a Savannah View with those value rooms.
that's amazing.
Yeah,
that's an amazing stretch.
and I also love that they're in the front of the resort, so you actually because that resort you can walk like 10 miles to your room in either Jambo or Kidani, and if you have a value room, you're not walking that far, which is nice.
Yep.
That's excellent. Ron says, obviously, they are huge stretchers. Not. That's true. For the foreseeable future, he is going to say that they are splurgers. I would agree with that, Ron. Jared, splurge on rooms. They recently did a 3-bedroom grand villa at Riviera.
Wow, that is splurge.
Oh, that's huge splurge, but how nice. And then a treehouse is pound for pound the greatest stretch. Oh, I want, now that we have to rent a car to go to Disney, one of these times we are going to get one of those tree houses, because I've always wanted to. I love the idea of being kind of out there on our own. So, and Riviera does only have the only 10-person 2-bedroom with the lock off. Oh, see, There's a
That's a lot.
reason.
That's a lot of people in a 2-bedroom, though.
Yes,
It is a lot of people. But maybe if they're little people,
Mhm.
that
True.
aren't all over each other. So, Nick, we love staying in 2 bedrooms with another DVCer. Oh, what a good idea. Much better on points value than the 2 one-bedrooms separately. But you still get the baller feeling and the hang time in the living room with your DVC friends.
Yeah, in some ways, the 1-bedroom is like the biggest splurge because you're paying twice as much for 4 or 5 people as you are at a studio, and it's a 2-bedroom isn't a lot more points than a 1-bedroom.
Mhm.
So that might be considered the biggest splurge that there is getting a 1-bedroom.
Yeah, absolutely. Jenny says they stretched by convincing her sister and brother to buy DVC and then invite yourselves on their trips. Jenny, do you know my sister Joyce? Do you know her? Jared says we almost always buy the extra 24 points a year and add them into an existing
Mhm.
reservation, allowing us to pull some contract points back. Interesting.
Yeah, I posted an answer to somebody's question about one-time use points. Need to go read that.
Interesting use
in the
of
community.
one-time use points. Yeah. Go look in the community for that kind of and
I'm not
search
sure
for
if that's
Andrew.
a stretch or a splurge, though.
I'm really not sure
'Cause those points
either.
It's
aren't
a little
cheap.
bit of a splurge because you have to pay for it, but you can
Yeah.
at least get 24 extra points without having to buy another small
Without
contract.
having to
This
buy
is true.
and pay dues
Yeah.
on the so if you took the dues cost out compared to the
Didn't think about that, but
one-time
that's
use
true.
points, so it may be even a better stretch than we're thinking.
But let's not talk about it too much so Disney won't close that.
Yeah, no, right, no kidding, right? Nick, when we go on
It's a
summer
bad place.
vacation to Disneyland for 3 or 4 nights, we often go midweek to avoid those point-heavy weekends.
Yes.
Yes, I find myself, especially if we're going on a shorter trip, trying to plan it for the middle of the week.
The only resort that does not charge for the weekend, Friday and Saturday night, is Alani.
Oh,
It's the only place you don't
Interesting.
pay extra for the Friday and Saturday night.
Yeah.
interesting.
And
Jen-
back in history, in the early days of DVC, the weekends were actually much, much higher
Yes.
than they were. And
They leveled them out.
to the point that they had such a problem with members not coming on the weekends
That's right.
that they ended up leveling them out somewhat. So now it's not nearly as different. But if you were to look back into I think they did that. I think they did this in the early 2000s. They changed that.
I think it was like
Interesting.
2010, 2011,
Yeah, maybe it was,
something like that.
but it was before I bought. But yeah, there was. It used to be the weekends were a lot more points, and
Wow.
and now they're just a little bit more.
Yeah, it's not tremendously huge. I mean, it's
Yeah.
not going to keep us from going on the weekends. But it does make a difference how I plan our trips, though, a little bit. It does make me look at it a little more carefully.
I admit I tend to not worry about that because since we have limited vacation time, a lot of times we will go for like a long weekend. So I don't worry about that. The weekends are more points because that's my days off. I'm not spending vacation days. So
Sure.
spending the more points for the room is not an issue.
And maybe when I think about that, I do look carefully at where the calendar says the points go up and down. And
Mhm.
I purposely plan this trip at the beginning of June every year because the point charts haven't gone up to summer rates yet. They're still low spring rates. So that's why I'm stretching my points even further, even though we are actually on summer vacation by then.
Mhm.
So
Yeah, I definitely look at the season for
the
sure.
seasons, yeah. Jen says she will splurge on room size. She likes to have a 2-bedroom, so we each have our own real beds. But I never splurge on view or preferred location because that is not important to me.
I'm with you, Jen.
Yeah, the views are not important to us either.
Yeah.
Never, not there enough to worry about a view. Jared, they are the little people. Yes, he's taking little people. So, Antoinette says we snag reservations at the Kilimanjaro club level and just love it. Definitely worth the DVC points.
Mhm.
Yeah, that's a nice.
That's hard to do if you even own there.
Yes, it is.
That's impressive. And that is a stretching your splurge big time because the benefit of having club level is huge.
Yeah,
So
I really want to do it someday, but you definitely have to do it at the 11-month mark, have to be an owner, and even then you got to get lucky. Especially if you want a studio. The 1 bedrooms maybe a little easier.
yeah, I think you have to be clever to be able to get
There's only 5 of those rooms. So
Yeah,
5 studios and 5 1-bedrooms. So
yeah,
Mhm.
you got to be clever. So
yeah.
But all right. Oh, Jared, Riviera, we consider a stretch resort 2 for 1. We use Caribbean Beach a lot too. The playground is huge with twin boys, yeah. And
Mhm.
we use their pirate pool. And we adore the Riviera Courtyard, Bar Riva, and Sivu Play, though. Oh, that's smart because you are right there walking distance to Caribbean Beach. So you could stay there. You use both resorts' amenities. That's a fantastic
Mhm.
idea. That's a fantastic
You
idea.
get what
Sure.
is moderate and deluxe mixed together there.
So even though those of us who are DVC are supposedly don't spend as much money in the parks, I don't know about that. What do you guys think about merchandise? And do you stretch your pennies or do you splurge your pennies when it comes to merch? Pete, share with us.
Personally, I'm very much a stretcher. I do not spend a lot of money on merchandise. My wife, on the other hand, she likes her Doonies. She likes the Pandoras.
Mhm.
She likes the 20% discount.
Yeah.
So she does spend some money. So she's the splurger, and I'm the cheap one that I usually limit myself to. It's kind of one of those things, like certain things, like you Disney puts out an Adventurers Club shirt or piece of merchandise, I'm going to grab that.
Yeah.
Tiki Room, it's probably a 50-50 chance I buy it, and a few other things. But yeah, or I'll splurge on like artwork. That's the thing that gets me in trouble. Like, Festival of the Arts, and they have all the artwork. But other than that, yeah, not a big merch person. The one thing I will say, and this is probably a stretch, is every once in a while Disney comes out with that 30% off for DVC members and annual pass holders, and I'll tend to buy a little bit more if I got that 30% off. So
we do too.
So wait for that deal on
Yeah.
when that happens. If you're lucky enough to be there, then I might spend a little more of that trip on that thing I've been waiting on. So
yeah, absolutely.
That's me.
Andrew.
My wife loves her Doonies too.
Yeah.
And for about 5 years, every Christmas, I would buy a full set of that year's Doonies for her. All the different designs, but the patterns were different on it each side. We used to buy the big plush toys for my daughter when she was younger. These are the large Mickey and Minnie sitting here. And I think I mentioned a couple of weeks ago, she's got one of those huge Stitch plushes.
Oh,
It's in her
sure.
dorm room at college now. But we've got pins back here. We've got all sorts of different collectibles, different things we've done. But the biggest thing that I've always splurged on is when my daughter, my girls that I call them my daughter, and her friends go with us. As soon as we got the magic bands, I said, okay, there's $2,000 on the account or the credit card or whatnot. Here's your magic bands. We'll go to Disney Springs. Go have fun.
Wow.
And I just follow them around and watch them go shopping and giggling and having fun with each other. And that's the biggest thrill for me. It's not the money. It's the splurge on letting
Marianne
them be
is
who
wondering if
they
you want
are
to
and
adopt
having
somebody.
a good time, because they're not there very often. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
They're not
Specifically
there
her.
very often. So I just give them the opportunity to have fun and have a good time. But as they've grown older and as we've matured more in our DVC membership, we've become one of those undesirables. We go to the parks, we go to the hotels, and we really don't buy a whole lot anymore. So we're kind of stretching now where we used to
Right.
splurge a whole lot on the things that would make them happy and help them create memories. And it's amazing how every once in a while I'll talk to the girls and they say, "Yeah, I have such and such sitting in my dorm room," or something like this. And that just warms my heart because they really do recall the memories and they really enjoyed that.
I think that's the cool thing is when the merch brings back the memories,
Yes, it does.
And so my big splurge merch wise is I buy PhotoPass with my AP every year. And because to me, the photos are
Mhm.
a big part of, for me, the memories. But when it comes to like merch, yes, I have a couple, I have a tote bag issue and a backpack issue. I'll be honest. I have an issue with that. And these little shoulder guys, I really like these
Mhm.
little guys too. But the way I stretch for my splurges on merch is, since we're sitting in my office, um, like the Orange Bird sipper,
Oh, yeah.
I'll buy the drink and have them put it in a separate glass so that he's never got gunk in him. And I love Little Orange Bird, and it's a 2 for 1. I got the cool orange drink that they were serving, and I've got the Orange Bird sipper. There's a Minnie Mouse sink sitting back here for ice cream, right?
Mhm.
Those have been, over the years, most of my merch kind of purchases has been kind of the treat with the merch, the popcorn bucket, those kind of things. My family doesn't do a lot of merch buying. We have one. Katie saved up money for 2 birthdays and 2 Christmases and bought 2 droids and one of the fancy dancy lightsabers after Galaxy's Edge opened. But other than that, and Katie has started pin collecting, but she's also very particular about what pins she buys, and, she has been very lucky that her DVC aunties and uncles take good care of her and send her pins in the mail. Every once in a while, I'll get a package and go, "What's this?" And I'll open it up, and go, "Oh, it's for Katie. Somebody got Katie a pin and sent it to her." So, which is really sweet because she's really picky about that. But, I'm again, unless it's a 30% off discount, you're not gonna see me buying a Dooney or any of that. I have one, but again, I got it on a sale,
Well, I
kind of
won't
a
give you my
thing.
secret because it might get somebody in trouble, but I always used a really good discount each year for the Doonies.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely.
Mhm.
So what does our community have to say about merchandise? Gina says it depends on what it is, but if it's a limited edition or a light up popcorn bucket, she buys it. She doesn't buy it just for herself. Then she takes orders and buys it for all the rest of us too. Ron says
Right.
merch, no comment.
You must be swimming in it.
Antoinette,
The biggest thing with the popcorn buckets, it's like, where do you have room for them? That's
Yeah.
my biggest
Yeah.
thing is like
yeah,
those suckers are big. Like my daughter, she just started doing pins a couple years ago, so now she does pins, and it's like, well, those are small. They don't take up much space. I
Yeah.
mean,
We
they're
got it all over the wall back here.
yeah. So, and
We use
and I
them
said,
as a memory board.
I think that's why I like the art because, these are just posters back here, but it's like they don't take up much space. They just hang on the wall. You don't really need anything else there, and
Good wallpaper too.
yeah.
exactly. Exactly. Antoinette says, I'm DVC and AP, and we live close to Disney. So my budget is blown many, many times. Epcot's 40th, she blew her budget out of the water. The Piano Man says, during this past trip, we only bought merch during the 30% AP promo. Yep, that's the
Mhm.
time to do it. And he recommends checking out the Character Warehouse outlet store. They have
Yes.
lounge flies half off.
Mhm.
Obviously, not some of the more popular ones, but some that we see that are still full price in the parks. Wow.
I posted some information about those 2 stores. There's 2 outlet stores on I-5 across I-4, excuse me, I-4. I posted something on that back in May. Search for outlet stores, and you may find it in the community on Facebook.
Yeah. Vicky says, "Oh yeah, Marianne, they always get me with the seasonal tote bag deal." Yeah, I'm a teacher. I go back and forth to school, and I usually have 2 or 3 tote bags with me every day. Those memes you see about teachers carrying lots of bags, it's true. So all of mine are just Disney. Janice says, our family, which includes our siblings, spend a lot of money each time we come, and we are also annual pass holders. I don't know why they think we aren't worth it at Disney
Yeah.
when we spend more than as pass holders and DVC members than when we were not years ago. Exactly. I
Yep.
don't get it either. Jen says, I don't go too crazy on the merch. I get a few keepsakes, but not anything excessive. I don't have an AP, only the Disney Visa. I used to spend more, but we go so often now, we don't get as much. She's #unfavorable. So,
And I do think that's part of it, though. As a DVC member, you go a lot. I think there gets to a point where you're like, all right, I got a lot of this. I
Yeah.
got a lot of these already. I mean, that's what I noticed with my wife. She doesn't. For a while there, she was getting them every trip, and now she's kind of like, no, I don't really like these, and
well, and when I look and go, that is exactly the same Orange Bird sipper as last year. I have
Well-
that at home. So I don't need that one, right? So
Well, they don't seem to do that with the Doonies.
no, they
No.
don't seem to do that with the Doonies. Jared, you're right. The Splurge is DVC, but it's paid back in happy tears, hugs, and smiles. My son came to after coming off a Riviera water slide. Thank you, Dad, for bringing me to our Disney World house. Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. Followed by the hug and then followed by the dad tears. That's that's the Splurge. That's what we're doing is truly we buy DVC to build those family memories. And that's why for me, the biggest splurge every year is on PhotoPass. So that I can keep those memories forever. But Jen, you guys are making me think I need a Dooney.
Have you seen the new little bucket bag? My wife saw this.
Yeah. Jared, you're right. We saw this one. Gina, we saw that comment. Sorry. Coney, Disney outlets are hit or miss, but not too bad. She loves coffee cups. Grab a bubble wand in the parks for the toddler. The resale shops seem interesting since locals don't keep their merch long. Oh, like a resale shop, like an antique not resale.
Haven't seen one of those.
That's an interesting idea. Jackie says, I really try hard not want so much. Spirit jerseys, Doonies, pins, ears, princess dresses. She bought 8 when her granddaughter was 6 months old at 30% off. They are starting to fit her now, 2 years later. She needs an intervention. I'm guessing that's why Ron said no comment. Coney says, I want the Japan popcorn buckets. So much better than the domestic designs. I agree. They are.
You can find some of those at Alani, by the way.
Ooh, go to Alani.
Alani has some really good crossover between Japan and the continental U.S. Merchandise out there. It's not very often, but sometimes you find it.
Jared, honestly, the biggest splurge lies outside of Disney. The flights from Iowa they're 2.5 hours from Chicago are our largest splurge. And
I can see that.
For the Tracy's, that's a big part of our planning and how we spend for DVC and why we don't come as often as some of our friends do, because the flight splurge is a lot for us. Ron says, although if they keep up with these new abstract line art Dooney designs, they might not sell as many. Interesting. Dan says, hi, everyone. Sorry for joining. And he'll watch the replay. Probably a good thing Holly didn't watch this one. Antoinette says, there's a large store in Lakeland here that has a whole lot of Disney merchandise and some original that Disney have replaced.
Yes, and they have a lot of the displays, the art stuff that you find in the parks. When they change that out, it goes to that store in Lakeland.
Oh, that's very
It's like
cool.
going to a giant Disney flea market.
Antoinette, when I come, you want to go? You can show it to me. I would do
There's a guy on YouTube that actually goes in those stores and show you what's there at least once a month.
Oh, that's so cool. Enchanting extras.
Ooh.
I'd really like to get into this, guys, but our time for the evening is almost up.
No.
We really do need to be wrapping up and saying goodnight to our friends. So I propose this. Let's start a thread about enchanting extras
There you go.
and what we like to stretch, or do we like to splurge on those enchanting extras in our community? So everybody be looking in the community later on this evening for a post, and Pete and Andrew and I will put our stretches and splurges for enchanting extras there. And we want you to jump in there and share with us what your stretches and splurges for enchanting extras would be.
So
But
I'll just
real quick, we're going to each tell our very favorite stretch or splurge tip for enchanting extras. Pete,
so I
you
was
have
just
to
gonna
narrow it down to one.
I was just gonna say that I go to Jelly Rolls at 8 p.m. and give the bartender my credit card, and I get it back at 1 a.m. And I'll leave you to guess whether that's a stretch or a splurge. But it's not a stretch.
That's awesome.
Depends
though.
on how quick they throw you out.
That is awesome, though.
Never been thrown out.
All right, Andrew, you're
mine.
very. Oh, and Andrew, let me tell you, in our pre-show document had pages worth of this one, so he has to narrow it down to one.
Yeah.
Oh, Andrew.
Without a doubt, our biggest splurge is when we go down when the water parks are open, and we try to go to at least one of the water parks while we're there. And we always go, if we go to Typhoon Lagoon, we get a beachcomber shack.
Okay.
We go to I'm sorry, Blizzard Beach. Thank you. We get a polar patio. It's set
Ah.
aside. You get towels, water in a cooler. You get a locker just right there. You get 6 chairs. Sometimes if you've got little ones, they'll allow more than 6 people. But you've also get a personal cast member all day long. They'll bring you lunch. They'll bring you snacks. You have to pay for it, but
Sure.
it's well worth the money you spend on it. And it keeps you from having to fight the lines or getting sand in your shorts because you're sitting in the sand all day long. We really do enjoy doing that every time we go to a water park at least once a year.
That's a fantastic splurge.
Yeah,
And I think you're
for
really
sure.
stretching your splurge there because you're making your time more enjoyable. So
exactly.
that's a good stretching of your splurge. Well, my stretching of my splurge, this is the one splurge that I will, and I will agree with our friend Jared about this one. He says, I'm sure you'll cover it, but Lightning Lane and Genie Plus are a splurge. And I completely agree. And it is a splurge that I, unfortunately, am willing to do. My family are whiny people if they have to wait in line. And so their mother will spend money on all of the individual lightning lanes, and she will spend money on GD Plus for every park day that we are there. I would rather spend money on that than Mickey bars, than on pins, than on merch, than on even a make me a better mommy drink. If I have to, that is the one splurge that I am always going to pay for because it makes my people much happier. So, and I feel like I'm stretching my splurge because it makes our time in the parks more enjoyable. So, all right, people, are we bringing Gina back up to say goodnight?
Sure. This is a
All
great.
right.
Oh, can you hear me? This is a great show.
Yeah, this has been
Yeah.
lots of fun. And like we said, we're going to go back to the community group, our My DVC Points community on Facebook. And we're going to start a thread about enchanting extras, stretch or splurge. We want everyone to go jump in there and tell us what they think, and we're going to jump in there with our own also. But thank you so much, community, for joining us tonight. We had a really great conversation with you, and I love learning new things from you. And I think Pete and Andrew agree with me about that. So does Gina. So thanks so much for joining us, and have a great night. And we will see you next week, where Sandy and Gina and Jake, I believe, are going
Hopefully he's
to.
checking. Jake's checking.
Jake, are going to talk all about Halloween because it's so close to Halloween. Halloween coast to coast and maybe on the sea. So it'll be a great night to celebrate Halloween in our community. So
That'll be great.
join us then. And thanks so much for joining us tonight and have a great week. We'll see you later. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.